All right, so are you ready to dive in? Today we're tackling a topic that's, well, it's pretty heavy. We're going to be looking at the psychology of online predators. Specifically, we're dissecting a sting operation from the True Crime News YouTube channel. The video is called, get this, I'm Chris Hansen. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yeah, I know the title's a mouthful, but trust me, it's worth it.
What really struck me about this case is the target. He's a 32-year-old math tutor, calls himself Mike Thrilla online. The sting goes down in Fairfield, Connecticut, and, well, you can imagine the irony around
Oh,
that.
yeah, big time.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about someone who teaches kids logic, reasoning, the whole 9 yards. And yet, here he is, engaging in this deeply disturbing behavior.
It's a fascinating look into the mindset of an online predator. In the video, they actually show some of the texts he sent to the decoy, someone he believed to be a 13-year-old girl. And it's unsettling to see how he uses slang like blaze, trying to seem cool.
Yeah, those texts are definitely chilling. There's even a point where he acknowledges that talking to a 13-year-old could, get him in trouble. But he keeps going. What's going on in his head, do you think?
Well, it's a classic case of a perpetrator trying to rationalize their actions. They know it's wrong, but they do it anyway.
What makes this case even more intriguing is the sudden shift in his behavior. He starts expressing concern for the decoy. Asks her to send a picture with his name on it to prove she's real. And then he actually shows up at the sting house.
Yeah.
Claims he's worried about her, wants to check. Can you believe that?
Oh, yeah. That's where things get really interesting. Because little did he know, Chris Hansen was waiting for him on the other side of that door.
Talk about a twist. The look on his face when Hansen reveals himself, it's priceless, pure shock and denial.
Yeah.
He even tries to justify his presence by saying, get this, he wanted to search the house to make sure the decoy wasn't with a group of people.
It's almost comical how he tries to spin the situation. Here's a guy who deals with logic and reason in his profession, but his justifications, they just fall apart. It really makes you wonder, was he trying to convince himself? Or was this a deliberate attempt at manipulation?
Right. And then there's this whole Good Samaritan act he tries to pull. Like he's just this concerned citizen looking out for a young girl.
But then you remember his earlier texts, talking about smoking weed with her, calling her soulmate. It paints a very different picture. This kind of juxtaposition, it's a hallmark of online predators. They use seemingly innocent activities, and emotional manipulation to build trust. They blur the lines to make their advances appear less predatory.
That's what makes these cases so unsettling, so insidious. It's not always about overt threats or force. It can be much more calculated, much more manipulative.
Yeah, it's unsettling for sure. To think that someone who works with kids, someone who's supposed to be, a role model, could be capable of this kind of manipulation. It really makes you wonder how common this kind of behavior is. Yeah. Sadly, this isn't an isolated incident. Cases like this, they happen more often than we'd like to think. And it really highlights the importance of, understanding the tactics that these predators use.
Right, absolutely. So let's talk about grooming. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but I think it's important to define it, for anyone who might not be familiar. What exactly does grooming involve? And how can we recognize the signs?
Sure. So grooming, it's essentially a process of psychological manipulation where the perpetrator, they build this relationship with a child or a young person with the intention of exploiting them. And it's a gradual process. The predator often uses a variety of tactics to gain the victim's trust and lower their inhibitions.
So it's not always about, threats or physical force. It can start with something that seems, harmless, maybe even positive.
Exactly. A common tactic is showering the victim with attention, compliments, gifts. This can make the child feel special, valued, and it can create this sense of dependence on the predator.
It's almost like they're creating this separate world where their behavior seems normal, acceptable.
That's a great way to put it. They're slowly distorting the child's perception of what's right and wrong, which makes them more vulnerable to manipulation.
So what about online interactions? Are there specific tactics that predators use in online spaces?
Definitely, yeah. Online platforms, they give predators this sense of anonymity and an easier access to potential victims. They might use fake profiles, pretend to be someone younger or more relatable. They might engage in excessive flattery or try to exploit the child's insecurities.
So it's crucial for parents to be aware of who their kids are interacting with online and to have, those open conversations about about online safety.
Absolutely. Parents should monitor their children's online activity, but it's also really important to establish open communication, trust. Children need to feel comfortable talking to their parents about anything that makes them feel uncomfortable online, unsafe.
It's also overwhelming to think about, to believe that people could be so calculating, so manipulative, especially towards children.
It is. It's a harsh reality.
Yeah.
And it's understandable to feel overwhelmed. But, knowledge is power. By understanding the tactics that predators use, we can better protect ourselves and the children in our lives.
That's a really good point. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what happened after Manzi was confronted by Chris Hansen.
Yeah.
Did he try to deny his intentions, or did he admit to what he was doing? So after that whole confrontation, did he come clean, or did he stick to that concerned citizen story?
Well, at first, of course, he denied everything, claimed he was innocent, tried to downplay those texts. But, the evidence was pretty clear.
Yeah, I bet that didn't fly with Chris Hansen.
Not at all. The video actually shows some of his interrogation with detectives, and his body language, it's pretty telling. Fidgeting, sighing, trying to downplay everything he did. It's like textbook guilty behavior.
So what happened? What was the outcome of all this?
Well, in the end, he was arrested and charged with attempted risk of injury to a minor. He pled guilty and got a suspended sentence with probation.
Huh. That kind of makes you think, is that enough? I mean, for someone who's actively trying to,
It's a tough question. Some people would argue for harsher punishment. Others might see probation as a chance for rehabilitation. It really highlights the different ways we think about these issues as a society.
Yeah, for sure. The video also makes a point about the trust we put in people who work with kids. It's a reminder that these situations can happen anywhere, even places we think are safe.
Absolutely. This case is a wake-up call for all of us. We can't be complacent when it comes to protecting children.
So what can we do? What can we do as individuals?
Well, first off, knowledge is power. There are resources out there, organizations like Petrichor, who actually conducted this sting. Learn about the signs, the tactics these predators use.
Education, right?
Exactly. And talk to your kids. Have those open conversations about healthy relationships, online safety. Make sure they know they can come to you if something's wrong.
Right. What if we think something's already happening? What should we do then?
Don't hesitate to report it. You can contact the authorities, Child Protective Services, or an organization that deals with child abuse. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Wow. This has been, well, a lot to process. It's scary to think about, but important. We all have a part to play in keeping kids safe.
I agree. This case shows us how these predators operate. By understanding that, by being proactive, we can all help protect vulnerable people.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening, keep this conversation going. Think about what you've learned today, how you could apply it in your own life. Share this information, talk to your friends, your family. Let's work together to make the world a safer place for kids. You can learn more about Petrichor online. They're doing great work. And as always, we want to hear your thoughts, so connect with us on social media. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and stay engaged.